This is going to be one of the biggest weeks for Gwent in a very long time, guys. We have the Chronicles expansion dropping on October 4th, and from Monday, September 26th until this Saturday, October 1st, we have one drop per faction per day, and there's going to be 4 new cards per faction with no neutral releases. And I think that's really important for the game because the Black Sun expansion, I believe, did a lot of damage to the game, and it was heavily focused on neutral cards. Now the game is going to be focusing more on the faction's integrity, and I'm really excited about that. Obviously, at this point, it's late Tuesday evening, so the drop for Northern Realms and the drop for Nilfgaard already would have happened. I'm still going to be making videos for them, and then following up with the Scoia'tael Syndicate Skellige, which I'm actually part of on Friday. I'm going to be revealing the last card of the day, so you want to stick around for that treat. And then, of course, over the weekend during the Gwent Open, they're going to be taking a look at monsters. So huge stuff, and I'm going to be putting out just a small video for each one so you guys can understand what the new cards are and what they do, maybe some ways that you can apply them in the game, and my anticipation of whether or not they're going to be good when they drop. So we'll get into Northern Realms for today. Again, I made this video actually last night, but I decided to delete it and start over again because there was an audio problem and it sounded really muffled. And so this one's not going to be a huge surprise, but for the rest of the week, I'm going to be looking at them for the first time with you guys. So we'll get into the start of Northern Realms. So first up here, we got Reaver Scout. It's a human and a soldier, and the order is spawn and play a base copy of an allied bronze soldier, excluding self. So with this one here, it appears to be something that's very strong, but it does have the condition of order. So we have to actually have this sit and survive for a turn before we can get the benefits from it. And I don't know if it's quite worth a leader charge with Inspired Zeal for this 4 provision card, when generally you want to use them for Rafford's Vengeance or one of your duels or a Bloody Baron or something like that instead. However, you're probably going to look to get Zeal on the board through something like Ildaiko, which is a gold card that gives things Zeal, or you can maybe set up one of the siege supports, which could be quite nice, right? If you're able to pull it off, there's a lot of good targets. Just having a quick look at all the soldiers for Northern Realms. Notable ones could be the Revenants, could be Cavalry if you're setting up a shield wall deck. It could be Redanian Archers, maybe if you want to try and do mobilization. Again, Immortal is actually pretty good for shield wall with like maybe King Ragnar payoff. You can even set up a Commandos deck with that play, or even go as far as putting Sintra and Royal Guards. And this seems like something that wouldn't be so memey anymore because you have other ways to set it up and to really get these pacing. And what I like about it too is the spawn and play aspect of it. So if you're thinking about it, you know, we're getting that deployability, right? So a lot of cool stuff here. But the reason why I don't think it's very good is because Nilfgaard's going to love this, right? Imagine playing against Assimilate. They have Mushy Truffle, and they just make 2 or 3 copies of this, and then they can boost it with Truffle to keep it alive. And then they're going now, and they're basically spawning and playing a base copy of Nausicaa Sergeant, right? And then they're getting not only the Nausicaa recreate, but they're getting the Battle Prep recreate, you know? There's just so many things that can go wrong in that matchup that it's almost like you're losing points by playing this. And I can tell you very well, at the start of new expansions, there's always going to be a lot of Nilfgaard play. So I'd be a little bit terrified to have something like this. Now, this card and what it's used for, I believe, is meant to target the next one we're looking at. So Reaver Hunters. Order spawn a base copy of self on this row and set its base power to 1 less than self. So essentially on the order, we'd be getting a second one of these, putting it at the 1 base power, which would then make it bonded, right? So then at the end of your turn, damage the highest power enemy by 1. That's pretty cool. So you know, it's essentially if we keep it on that row and they're bonded, we're going to be getting damage per turn. I do think that this is a little slow to set up because we have a lot of point slam decks going around right now. And think about an opponent putting out like a Renfri's gang and then all these really quick thinning plays, Roach Knickers, you know, Coral Burna, whatever the case may be, right? And then you have 2 points plus 1 point, then you're starting to get the engines here. It feels a little bit slow. I would imagine that this does really well in a long round if you can keep it going and you're not playing into heavy control, but otherwise it might be a little bit scary. It's nice to see new bonded units come into the game because I really like Mushy Truffle, and you know, it's just another target for that, so that's pretty cool about it. So we'll really have to see how this pans out, but I'm thinking that it's going to see some play early on and then it's going to plateau. And I like the approach of not making things overpowered when they're releasing it now. It seems like devs are sort of taking some of the feedback from the last expansion and taking things a little bit slower. I just don't see how this soldier package, though, is going to be able to compete with the other soldier package, for example, with Nilfgaard, with all those recent buffs. It just feels like these will be overshadowed. In fact, these actually help their strategy. So I'm not thrilled about it, but again, I think that it's pretty creative overall, and I'm excited to give these cards a try. We have Kennet and Kar, another human soldier with formation. So order destroy an enemy unit with 2 or less power. Whenever you spawn a soldier, increase the limit by 1. So if you guys don't know, formation means if you play it on the ranged row, it's going to be getting an extra boost. So it'll be 7 power instead of 6. If you play it on melee, it's not going to be getting the boost, but you'll be getting the ability to use the order on the same turn. I'm a little bit conflicted because the design of the card makes me believe that it's something that you want to use as an engine that you build up throughout a round and get a really big removal at the end. But formation and also the vulnerability and risk of removal makes me believe that it's something that you're going to want to use quickly so that the opponent can't react to it, whether it be a lock, removing it, or whatever the case. So you do one of two things here. You put it on the range roll behind the defender and you do your best to build it up. And you might see maybe a max of a 10-point removal. The formation point plus the 6. We're sitting around 17 points of value, I guess, on the card for the 9 provision, which is actually pretty good if we can pull it off. However, more often than not, I think it's going to be a short round play or just the same turn play. And what you'd have to do in that case is maybe if you have revenants, you can use them to destroy each other and get several spawns, or use them offensively to destroy several enemy units and then spawn more revenants on our side. And maybe you're playing mobilization leader ability and you can get the extra spawn there, just to name a few different ways. This would likely play for 3 or 4 points of removal plus the 2 that we have. So we're sitting at maybe 5 or 6 points of removal plus the 6 base power. Getting 11 or 12 points for a 9 provision card feels okay, but it doesn't feel great. Obviously, removal is worth more than boost, so it's favorable in that case. But if you compare this card to something similar from Skellige, for example, like Junid, that just requires the unit to be damaged to destroy it, then you could see how much more setup this is and why this might not be as good, right? Especially when you don't have round control and you don't get the setup situation that you're looking for, or you're playing into a heavy control matchup and, you know, the strategy that we just discussed doesn't work out in your favor. This could just be really bad. I think that's why duels are just a bit better for this provision range, like Selkirk or Onseus would be probably a better fit if you were doing devotion. Otherwise, you can look at maybe a muzzle or a heat wave that would just be consistently doing something similar, right? So that's kind of my thought on this one here. And moving on to the last one of the day, we have Boholt, which is a human soldier. Okay, so 2 base power, 1 armor, 12 provision. This is going to be a big hero card, right? So Formation, again, with this one here, order, spawn a base copy of an allied bronze soldier on its row. Whenever you spawn a soldier, boost self by 2. So this plays very similar to this and this combined, if you think about it. Now it has an order leaving it vulnerable, so you're going to want to try and protect that somehow. And then it has the formation like Kennet, and the condition of whenever you spawn, you get that payoff. In this case, boost self by 2. So I would imagine that you want to get a couple spawns in the same turn to keep it safe. Otherwise, it's just going to get removed. And it sounds like whenever you spawn a soldier, boost self by 2 can be used before the order. It's like a passive. So it would probably be the same turn that you put this down. You spawn a couple things to get maybe 4 boost or 6 boost if you're spawning 3, and then you're able to use the order the following turn and get the boost payoff from that as well. So this could be something that you float potentially, and then you start going crazy with the spawn stuff the following turn to play Kennet. I could see the synergy there. My only concern is that the card set here, again, low base power, low tempo plays. This seems to be a higher tempo play, but it involves a lot of setup in order to make it work. Again, going into a short round 3, let's say 3 cards, because nowadays in Gwent, everybody likes to win round 1 on even, lead you down to nothing in round 2, and have the round 3 with the point slams. So I would imagine this would struggle in that situation, but again, we're going to have to see what the rest of the cards look like, and, you know, this feels like something that, if left unchecked, could be quite dangerous, so you never know. But that's pretty much it, guys. What do you think of this card drop? Do you think it's going to be too strong or not strong enough? Are you happy with the card design? What would you change if you had the choice? I want to hear about it. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys soon with a Nilfgaard segment.